Hello and welcome to Golden Acre Park in Leeds. Here we are today at the entrance area to Golden Acre Park. Back in the day, this was much more than what you see today, and that's what we're going to find out in this video. So let's start by taking a quick look at the history of the park, and then we're going to go for a full explore and find out what remains today. Golden Acre Park is situated on the northwestern outskirts of Leeds, between Bramhope and Lawnswood. The area was originally known as Black Hill. 300 acres of land was purchased in the 1920s by one Herbert Wright Thompson, with the plan to build a new housing development to compete with places like Roundhay. However, Herbert died in 1928. The land and a sum of money was left to his son, Frank Temple Thompson. What a great name. Who also had the same vision for housing and started to advertise the plots of land for development. In the end, only a few houses were built. In order to attract more interest in the area, he took inspiration from Roundhay yet again and decided a large public park would be key to the whole development. And having visited Coney Island in New York and Blackpool Pleasure Beach, he set about creating something similar in Leeds. And so a smaller plot of land formed around some natural reservoirs in the area became Golden Acre Park. This name is said to originate from the hue of the local stone, but where the acre comes from is anybody's guess. The park is actually 137 acres in size. Construction work started in 1930 with an initial outlay of £20,000, and the park officially opening in March of 1932 to great fanfare and a large firework display. The park featured a 16-acre lake with motorboats, canoes and a steamship. It also included gardens and woodland with tennis courts, playgrounds, cafes, swimming pools, fairground rides and a large miniature railway encompassing the lake. It cost £2d to enter the park grounds itself, and then the attractions inside would also cost extra on top. He often faced opposition from the public and tried his best to appease them by adding more suitable attractions such as Yorkshire's largest dance hall, a hotel, the Blue Lagoon pool and a water shoot ride. The park would operate seasonally from Easter until the end of September, and at the start of each season, new features and attractions would be added. The miniature railway proved so popular that a second locomotive was ordered from Hudswell Clark of Leeds, and a zoo opened on the site in 1937. Attracting over 500,000 visitors per season at its peak, the park seemed to be doing well. But with the onset of World War II and the difficulty in travelling to this remote site from Leeds, the park never reopened for the 1939 season. Lasting a mere 6 years, the park was sold off to other consortiums who had great plans for the site, but it sat derelict throughout the war years and became overgrown and abandoned. Eventually the park was purchased by Leeds Council in 1945, with the intention to reopen it with all the attractions it had. However, a botanical garden was more favoured, so all the remaining attractions were sold off, and some of the facilities were demolished to make way for the flower beds, rockeries and walled gardens. The Blue Lagoon was the only attraction to survive and became part of the nearby Parkway Hotel complex, eventually closing itself in 1961 due to the cost of repairs. The site is still a public park today and still owned by Leeds Council. None of the planned housing was ever built, and the park is a shadow of its former self. But there are still lots of features remaining and lots still to be discovered. So let's begin our explore and see what we can find. And there's a couple of houses that are right next to the entrance to Golden Acre Park and next to the main road, and they're labelled on an old map as the Thompson houses. So let's start here with the main entrance into the park from the main road, and what would have been right here the ticket booth. So you would have paid your admission fee here. Now today we're heading up to what is the cafe and the seating area just out the front of it there. But all four of these buildings are original buildings and were here when the park opened. However, the building that is now the cafe here wasn't the original cafe. It was a much bigger building right in front of it there, which took up the whole seating area outside. So this section is listed as the gardens on the old map, and it's still that today. So this is probably the original gardens that was here. You can see some of the old walls just in there. So this whole park was built around a large lake in the middle, and you basically made your way around the outside with the various attractions on the outskirts of the park, including the miniature railway which circled the lake as well. Now I've just looked on the maps, and right here is what is labelled as toilets on the old map. And guess what? Today it is still a toilet. So Darren's loo review. They're quite good toilets. Very clean and smell nice. Again, this is one of them places where it's just so hard to believe what used to be here. And this is what I love to do, because it looks nothing like it did. And I love to come and explore somewhere that I've never been. It's just little things like this, part of the original wall that used to line the edge of the station. And the most glaringly obvious thing when you come to Golden Acre Park today, right in front of us there would have been a large lake. It's hard to imagine it from here, but if you look at the old pictures, it was quite extensive. And then just on this flat piece of land here, which runs all the way down here and right across over here, was what was one of the main or the largest buildings on the whole site. And it was labelled on the maps as a dance hall. And quite a large building from what I could see on the pictures. But it's hard to imagine today when you look at it. It's a lovely little garden today with some benches in. Now I understand why it was probably demolished, because buildings like that, especially of that size, would have been hard to maintain. And a closer look at that site there of the old ballroom and dance hall. It would have been directly in front of us there, heading away from us. You can see how flat it is, but it has been re-landscaped because of the flower beds, etc. But it's just worth mentioning that the park was only open for 6 years. That's just such a short space of time. So we're walking through what is today a wooded section, and it was back then also. There wasn't much in the way of things here until we get further on. As we get to this section here, this is where the actual lake that still exists today actually appears. But it's weird to think that it used to be a lot deeper than that, and it used to expand across all this greenery here and all the way down to the entrance, which is a good few hundred yards further down. We've just made our way up here, and we've reached what is now the boundary, or what was the boundary of the park back in the day. It does extend beyond that now up here, and then you would have had to make your way across this dam here to cross the lake and around the other side. But right at the end here there was another cafe, a children's playground, and also a big Helter Skelter. And I don't mean a fairground one, I mean a tall, unique Helter Skelter. It was very big. Now I think, because I'm not 100% sure, I've only got one picture to go off, and it just shows it popping out of the trees. But I'm going to guess it was about here, in this little clearing here. And I can't be 100% sure of that, but I am going to try dig out a picture, and if I find any, I'll pop them in the footage so you can see it. But the topography here does look like it lends itself to some large structure. It's flat, and I can see lots of rock strewn around on the floor, which indicate to me there might have been something here substantial. But more rocks here. You can see there was something here. Yeah, I'm pretty confident that it was this section here where the Helter Skelter was. So we're now heading away from the Helter Skelter area just here. We've now got to make our way across this wall, or a dam wall, and I'm not swearing, it is a dam wall. And the lake's just there, and we're going to make our way straight across and then back down the other side to have a look at some more attractions that were on the other side. But just check out this lovely little bridge down here. Definitely an original bridge. Let's get a closer look at this. So I think it's some kind of an overflow for the lake, but you can see where the channel is here as it heads out into a little gorge down there. You can see some kind of a structure. If I just get down into the mud. Now that could have been a sluice gate of some sort, and you can see where they would have slotted something in there as well. But I'm betting this is the foundation for the bridge for the miniature railway. There's the lake as you see it today. Now if you just look in the distance there, if I zoom in for you, You can see that greenery at the back. That's probably the other half of the park. And like I said, the lake did stretch all the way up to the main road and the entrance. So it's probably only half the size it was today, or it was back then. We're now on the other side of the lake. So as we get to this section here, I was following the footpath round, and I've just realised that this would have been underwater if that lake was a lot higher, probably 5, 6, 7 feet higher than what it is now. Then it definitely would have been on this section here, and all this would have been underwater. And you can see like a mound here. I believe that's the original lake edge. So let's go take a closer look in there and see if we can find anything off the beaten track. As I thought, we're starting to see some remains already. Check this out. There you can see some kind of a brick archway, or a piece of it anyway. Lots of big chunks of concrete and stone. And again, dressed stone down here in the floor there, look. And another section of brick. This looks like columns to me. And then we stumble upon this structure here, a wall, or maybe an outside of a building. Again, there was buildings at this point. On the old map, it does show a large building at this section. Could this have been that building? And here we are on top of that building, which is actually labelled on the maps as the Blue Lagoon. Whatever that was, maybe a outdoor pool or something, like a Lido, who knows? And here's the edge of that building. Right there. You can see the brickwork in there. Because like I said a minute ago, I do believe that lake there would have been right up to the edge here, which is a good 5, 6 feet further down. Now if you ever come in here, just watch out for these sunken manholes and things here. There's plenty of them around. Another wall here. This could be sections of rooms again. And I've just spotted on these bricks here, there's Armitage brickworks on there. Now again, I have covered one of the Armitage brickworks on one of my former videos. Another deep trench of some sort here with a ladder down, full of rubbish today. Again, this could have been into the basements or some kind of pump house. If it was a Lido, as I suspect, this could have been maybe where the machinery was kept underneath. And I've just spotted this and it just confirmed it straight away. There you go. Blue paint. Always a giveaway to being the edge of some kind of a swimming area. That looks like steps down, and you can see the edge there. So this is still here and buried underneath all that. That's amazing. That's probably the best find today. And it was all of guesswork. You can also see here some of the old railings buried in the ground there. And a stanchion where that railing probably would have sat there. Let's see if there's anything else remaining. Yeah, this, I am pretty sure, is a Lido of some sort or a swimming pool. And the building was quite extensive and the miniature railway was behind it. So like I said today, the footpath is down there. But I do believe the original path through was here at the back and the railway was up here. So let's continue. There is also on the maps something called, or labelled as the circus, just down here. And it's not a very big building, so my guess is it was just a small circus show of some sort. So this is the other outer wall here. So yeah, this would have been a fair size, a good Lido size maybe. Yeah, you can clearly see that wall there. And as soon as I head out of those trees, like I said again, that field down there would have been the lake. And you can see where the land slopes down, and that would have been the original lake edge. And that circus on the map would have been somewhere in the centre here. And just down here on the right hand side, before we reached the bend, there was also another small swimming pool here as well, and a tennis court. But again, you wouldn't believe it today, absolutely nothing remaining around here. Now there is this small underpass today, which heads underneath the main road and the boundary wall here. If I just head through, you can see it's a lovely footpath to the other side, but this wouldn't have been here. It was purely for water through here and an outfall from the lake. But as I've said, as that lake is filled in on the other side, They don't need it anymore, so it's now a footpath. Now if you just look out there, you can see how high this piece of ground is in the middle. Again, like I said, that was the lake. And I think this is all landfill. Now how the footpath got across here, again, I have no idea. I don't believe, if I look at the pictures anyway, you can't see it following the track bed across here on the viaduct or anything, so maybe you had to walk up on the main road. But I do believe, if you see the concrete there, and then it turns into stone, I believe that's the lake edge there, and it would have been at that height, which would take it right across there. I don't know why it's dropped or why they reduced it. Now on this section of pond, the bit that's filled in the middle, there was labelled on the map an old fountain right in the middle, and also some kind of a boating course and a seaplane parked up in the middle of the lake. I'll just chuck a picture of that in for you. That would have been right in front of you there. And looking back towards the gardens where we started the video, right there, again, I believe this, if we're going by the level on the wall over there, this would have been the lake edge here, right up to this, where this fence is now. And I would have been stood knee deep in water. Like I said, not today, it's a good few feet lower at this point anyway. Now this to me, I know it resembles a kind of a little paddling pool today. This does look original, but I can't see it on any of the pictures or the map. Because again, right here in front of us would have been the whole lake. But somewhere around here, where I'm stood now, would have been the water chute ride, which would have come right from where that big tall pine tree is at the back there, and headed on a track down here. Could this have been the plunge pool for that water chute ride? But again, if you look on the old maps, it doesn't appear to show that. It just shows it going into the lake. And just a bit of a closer look at where that structure for the water chute ride would have come down. Through this little section here, this what is today a rockery. Now if you want to know what that looks like, I'll stick a picture in. But also, they have one in Scarborough, which is identical, right next to the North Bay Railway. So what you see at Northstead Manor Gardens in Scarborough is pretty much what you would have seen here, the water chute and a miniature railway. And where I'm stood now would have been right in the middle of the lake. It's hard to believe when you can see how grassy it is today. Now it is very boggy land, I have noticed that. But where I'm stood would also have been a little island in the middle of the lake. So we would have been surrounded by water right now. But on the island was something called the Music Tower. And that music tower used to broadcast music across the park. But that was right here, on this piece of land here. But I've just spotted some concrete. Let's go have a look. Here we go. Some big chunks of concrete right there. Again, I am not 100% sure if these have anything to do with this. I suspect this could have been a bridge in a later stage, because there's one on this side as well. But if we just look down here, you can see some old stone edges. And I'm trying to be careful because I am stood right on the edge of that concrete. I don't want to fall in there, it looks disgusting. But I'm willing to bet that underneath here, because you can tell there's been a lot of earthworks, that the foundations of that building still stand, because I do believe it was made out of stone. And also the foundation of the island that it sat on. It's hard to imagine today, just this bit here. And then I think you had like a wooden platform that led out from the pathway right up there. Now because of how close we are to Leeds Bradford Airport, unfortunately I can't get the drone up here today. But join me next week for part 2, where we're going to continue our explore around this beautiful park. Thank you very much for joining us. I'll see you soon in the next video. Bye.